Day, everybody. Let's now learn the last lesson for this unit. This time, let's talk about the principles of counseling. In this lesson, we are going to be tackling primarily the role of the counselor as well as the different principles that are inclined into the discipline or the process of counseling. All right, if you have any questions that may come during the course of the discussion, make sure to write them down in your notebook so that we may be able to cater them during our online discussions. Now let's begin with our discussion. We need to remember with the previous discussions that counseling is an applied discipline that helps clients develop more helpful ways of addressing their emotional, cognitive, or behavioral issues. So there are different and varying issues that have also different and varying solutions or alternatives in order for us to cope with these issues. Now in this lesson, let's try to go down one by one what are the different principles a counselor must possess as well as the role of the counselor in terms of the process of counseling. Now, have you ever wondered what makes counseling helpful and effective to begin with? Why is this discipline so effective and why is this process deemed to become very helpful? Now, in this lesson, our target is to have these following objectives met. Distinguish among the different principles of counseling and understand the relevance of each principle of counseling to the actual counseling process. Therefore, there is now an integration that needs to be made, right, from understanding the relevance of each counseling into the actual process of counseling. Now, as we go along with this discussion, let's try to forge an understanding with this essential question. Why do counselors need to uphold various principles in their practice? Remember that it is not only in counseling where we uphold various principles, but it is in more disciplines than we realize. These principles helps us determine, right, where we should be at and how we should do these processes that are inclined to our areas of expertise or specifications. Now, the role of the counselor is to serve as the change agent by which these changes can be facilitated and guide clients in recognizing and addressing problematic behaviors, irrational thoughts, and intense feelings. Remember, class, that there are two concepts that we must adhere to in this discussion. As a counselor, our role is to serve as change agents, which these clients or these changes can facilitate from. And more so, we need to guide clients. The key term here is guiding clients in recognizing not only that, but to also address problematic behaviors, the irrational thoughts that goes on to their heads, and the intense feelings that they feel that helps them display these undesired behaviors. Now, counselors can also teach clients about the dynamics between their triggers, physical, health, and their behavioral responses through a process called psychoeducation. So this is an offshoot of counseling. Part of the roles of counselors, we can also educate our clients. What are the triggers of these behaviors and what could be, right, the different responses into the process of psychoeducation. Counselors are not advisors or coaches that are expected to provide answers and solutions to the client's concerns. Meaning to say, you will not dictate and you will not tell the clients answers or solutions to their concerns. Instead, you're going to help them identify these concerns, these issues, these thoughts and behaviors, and we are going to guide our clients into understanding what could be best to aid or to solve and address these behaviors and thoughts. Now, what can beginning counselors do to ensure that they are able to provide support to their clients? Now, let's talk about the principles of counseling. These principles serve two purposes. as a standard of professional behavior and as a means to recognize areas of improvement. Remember that as counselors, we are expected to be the ones who could, stand taller or know better or be the bigger person in the process of counseling. In this regard, we need to manifest standard professional behaviors in order for us to recognize as well areas of improvement in our conduct of the process of counseling. Now, let's first talk about these principles of counseling. First, we have reassurance. Reassurance promotes exploration of new relationships and experiences while helping the client diminish any anxious feelings in the process. One thing that we should remember, our clients are very concerned and conscious as to the next step that they are going to do. We must provide them the reassurance that in order for them to continue their lives, there are now opportunities for them to grow, right? And to invest into newer relationships and experiences that helps them improve the problems and issues that they have identified while still building or while still diminishing these anxious feelings in the process. That's what we give to them, reassurance. We also have release of emotional tension, in which there are two concepts that we need to idea. A safe and non-judgmental space is given to let emotions out, and clients navigate feelings and understand their causes and impacts. In this regard, we provide our clients with a platform where they are comfortable to release emotional tensions, in which they must feel that it is safe for them to release their emotional baggages. And we are providing a non-judgmental space in order for our clients to navigate different feelings and understand what causes these feelings and what are the impacts to them and to their different relationships. Clarified thinking. This means that there is attainment of more rational and objective thought patterns that lead clients to make better decisions, in which after identifying these problems and issues, we are able to help our clients guide through the feelings and emotions that they have in order for them to achieve, right, the rational and objective thought patterns that will help them understand and make decisions better. Reorientation. This means helping our clients change or reorganize their goals based on an understanding of their level of aspiration, their limitations, and their emotional characteristics. Listening skills. This involves understanding the client's statements and taking note of cues, behaviors, and expressions that provide more information about the client, to which, as counselors, we need to understand that it is a two-way process. There is a talker and there is a listener, in which it could be in two ways. The client could be the listener and the counselor could be the talker, or vice versa. But more importantly, as counselors, we need to make sure that our clients' statements are still going to be patterned on the critical thinking or critical listening skills, in which kung may sabihin ang client that is not right or could be a fallacious statement at the start of, you are able to identify or take note of these cues and behaviors or expressions so that we can process them along the way. That will help us give more information about the client and to our clients. Respect. Counselors are expected to show respect to their clients regardless of beliefs, attributes, characteristics, and experiences. This means that facilitating respect in counseling also requires the counselor to respect the client's privacy, boundaries, and decisions. As I have said, we are not going to be dictating our clients. Instead, we are just going to guide them, help them navigate through their feelings, and identify the problems and the possible solutions or alternatives to these problems. So we need to respect whatever boundaries that they may set or whatever decisions that they may have or draw out from this particular process. empathy and positive regard. Let's first distinguish the two. Empathy is the ability to fully understand the client's world as if it was the counselor's own. You put yourself in the shoe of your client. Positive regard refers to the act of supporting the client without conditions or judgment. You're just going to support the client in which the client will be able to achieve, right, a healthy way to come or to develop relationships and communicate feelings or ideas. Clarification, confrontation, and interpretation. Clarification involves clarifying any vague or ambiguous statements made by the client. Just like what I said earlier, when you are going to possess listening skills, you also need to take note of these cues, behaviors, or expressions of the clients that may seem to be troubling you as a counselor. And then we clarify to them what this possibly means or why they were able to say these statements. Confrontation involves bringing to the surface the feelings, behaviors, or thoughts that the client may fail to recognize. It is a given that clients do not really embrace or face head-on these issues because it is impacting them in a very negative way. Therefore, there must still be confrontation in the way that the clients don't feel violated. The client still feels safe in the manner in which these issues are being confronted, right? And interpretation. Interpretation is the counselor's attempt to provide hypothetical feedback about the cause of clients' issues. Transference and countertransference. Let's now distinguish the two. Transference refers to the client's expression of feelings, thoughts, and behaviors toward the counselor that provides insights about their personal issues or current challenges, while countertransference talks about the counselor's reactions to the client's transference, triggered by the counselor's own personal issues, challenges, and experiences. So if we are going to look at the two, the transference now relates better to the client's expression of feelings and thoughts and behaviors towards the counselor in order for the counselor to provide insight about their personal issues or current challenges. So that's transference. The client now is trying to relate it to the counselor, right? To relate the insights to that of the counselor in order to provide insights in their personal issues and current challenges, while countertransference is the reaction of the counselor to the client's transference, triggered by the counselor's own personal issues, challenges, and experiences. Meaning to say, the counselor here is not depicted as the perfect listener or the go-to person that does not make flaws or does not have experiences of tribulations, challenges, or different experiences. Countertransference here presents the counselor in which the reaction of the counselor based from the client's transference is going to be understood as it is triggered by the counselor's own personal issues, challenges, and experiences. So if the counselor has this kind of perspective, ultimately, countertransference gives us the understanding that that is the reaction of the counselor that is triggered by the counselor's personal issues, challenges, and experiences. Now, from your perspective, do you think there are any principle that is more valuable than the other? If you do, try to explain it to yourself why. Ganong mas importante ang listening skills kaysa sa reassurance? Or is countertransference more important than transference? Why do we need to confront and interpret the feelings, statements made by our clients? Or why do we need to have listening skills? Which do you think, or do you think there is a particular principle that is more valuable than the other? Now, let's talk about evaluating the principles of counseling. Of course, these principles are not perfect, are not concrete, right? Now, let's try to evaluate them. The principles of counseling in professional practice should serve as basis for understanding the quality of care and type of effort that counselors and clients need to exert in the therapeutic relationship, to which the principles of counseling should be understood in a holistic context. Meaning to say, there is no one principle that is greater than the other, but instead, all of these principles should mesh and gel with each other in order to provide a holistic experience or listen to a client in a holistic perspective to help draw out, right, the more useful and the better solutions that we can find. Now, in this particular part of the discussion, we try to wrap up what we have learned and the concepts that we have understood. First is the counselors, the role of the counselors, in which the counselors are sought to be change agents who help clients identify and manage maladaptive thoughts, behaviors, and feelings that hinder them from living well and functioning effectively. The principles of counseling are a set of guidelines and professional behaviors that serve two purposes. First, as a standard of professional behavior, and as a means to recognize areas of improvement. There are numerous principles in counseling that counselors are expected to uphold. This includes listening, respect, confrontation, and clarified thinking, among the others. Counselors are expected to holistically utilize principles in counseling, integrating various parts of the client's life and the therapy goals into practice. Now, class, with this particular lesson, I hope that you were able to identify which principle of counseling helps us best in trying to determine what will become more beneficial in the process of counseling. Now, if there are lessons that came or that arise during the conduct of this discussion, make sure to jot them down so that we can review them and cater them during our online classes. Good day once again and keep safe.